Yeah, no, how will you maintain it?
Yes.
Which means they are looking for a reward.
Exactly.
I will practice it. I will do everything to maintain that attention in order to get something in return. Attention is not a result. Attention has no cause. I mean, what has cause becomes has an effect, and the effect becomes the cause. It's a circle. But attention isn't that. Attention doesn't give you a reward. Attention, on the contrary, there is no reward or punishment. Because it's no frontier. I don't.
Yes, this calls up an earlier conversation we had when you mentioned the word virtue, and we explored it in relation to power.
Exactly, exactly.
And we're told what is difficult for a thinking child to believe, given the way the child's brought up, but he's required somehow to make his way through it, that virtue is its own reward.
Oh, that just, yes, correct.
And of course it's impossible to see what is sound about that,
yes, correct,
under the conditioned situation in which he lives.
They're just an idea, sir.
It's an idea. So now we tuck that back, and then later when we need to remind somebody that they're asking too much of reward for something good that they did, we tell them, well, have you forgotten that virtue is its own reward? Yes, yes. It becomes a form of punishment.
So then, you see, seeing and hearing, then what is learning? Because they're all interrelated. Learning, seeing,
and
hearing,
and
action, and all that. It's
Yes.
all in one movement. They are not separate chapters. It's one chapter.
Distinctions, no divisions.
No, yeah. So what is learning? Is learning a process of accumulation? And is learning non-accumulative? We're putting both together. But let's look at it.
Let's look at it, yes.
One learns a language, Italian, French, whatever it is, and accumulates words. And the irregular verbs and so on, and then able to speak. That is learning a language and being able to speak. Learning how to ride a bicycle, learning how to drive a car, learning how to put together a machine, how to electronics and so on. So those are all learning to acquire knowledge in action.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking, is there any other form of learning? That we know. We are familiar with the acquisition of knowledge. Now, is there any other kind of learning? Learning which is not accumulated and acting. I don't know.
Yes, when we've accumulated it all, we haven't understood anything on that account.
Yes. And I learn in order to gain a reward or in order to avoid punishment. I learn a particular job, a particular craft in order to earn a livelihood. That is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, now, I'm asking, is there any other kind of learning? That's routine. That's the cultivation of memory, and the memory, which is the result of experience and knowledge, that is stored in the brain and that operates. When asked to do, ride a bicycle, drive a car, and so on. Now, is there any other kind of learning? or only that? When one says, I have learned from my experience, it means I have learned, stored up from that experience certain memories, and those memories either prevent, reward, or punish. So then all such forms of learning are mechanical. And the brain and the education is trained, the education is to train the brain to function in routine, mechanically. Because in that there is great security. Then it's safe. And so our mind becomes mechanical. My father did this, I do this, and you follow? The whole business is mechanical. Now, is there a non-mechanical brain at all? A non-utilitarian, in that sense,
yes,
learning, which has neither future nor past, therefore not time-binding. I don't know if I'm making this.
Don't we sometimes say, I've learned from experience, when we wish to convey something that isn't well conveyed by that expression? We wish to convey an insight that we don't feel can be, in a strict sense, dated.
Listen, you see, sir, do we learn anything from experience? We have had, from history began, written history, 5,000 wars. I read somewhere, 5,000 wars. Killing, maimed. And have we learned anything? Have we learned anything from sorrow? Man has suffered. Have we learned anything from experience of the agony of uncertainty and all the rest of it? So when we say we have learned, I question, you follow? It seems such a terrible thing to say, I've learned from experience. You have learned nothing except in the field of knowledge. I don't know.
Yes, may I say
Please.
something here that just passed in recall? We were talking about sorrow before, and I was thinking of a statement of St. Paul's in his letter to the Romans, where there's a very unusual sequence of words where he says, we rejoice in tribulations. Now, some people have thought he must have been a masochist or something in making such a statement, but that certainly seems to me bizarre. We rejoice in tribulations. And then he says, because tribulation works, and in the Greek this means that there's energy involved, works patience. Patience experience. Now, that's a very unusual order, because we usually think that if we have enough experience, we'll learn to be patient. And he completely stands that on its head here. And in a context of what you're saying, that order of his words makes eminent sense. Please go on.
No.
Yes, that's really very remarkable.
You see, sir, that's why our education, our civilization, all the things about us has made our minds so mechanical.